Chapter 81. To be humiliated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 81. To be humiliated. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, isn't Yi Chen deliberately pulling this off since he knew I was coming over today? Somebody call him back. Second young Master Yi impatiently and arrogantly responded. Lu Xiaotian sneered whilst Qing Anya smiled. Second young Master Yi, please wait in the reception room. Boss Yi will return soon. Is that the new secretary? The voice second young Master Yi heard left him comfortable. Every time Yi Yutang entered MBS, he hated others calling him Mr. Yi. Old Master Yi did not allow him to enter MBS even though he was the second young master of the Yi family and also Yi Chen's elder brother. Yi Chen's subordinates did not show him any respect. Yi Yutang hence bore grievances against Yi Chen. Yes. Qing Anya smiled. Yi Yutang was pleased and his anger subsided. As he saw the pure and beautiful Qing Anya, he entertained the thought of flirting with her. Since he had to wait for Yi Chen, he might as well, right? This new secretary sure looked good. Yi Yutang reached his hand over and gently caressed Qing Anya's sharp chin. Qing Anya's gaze froze and stepped back as she smiled. Second young Master Yi, please show some self-respect. Yi Yutang looked at Anya, stunned. Never would he guess that such a young secretary, more like a personal assistant, could be so na.ve. He was angered by the fact that even Yi Chen's na.ve twit would look down on him. Mr. Yi, please wait in the reception room. Lu Xiaotian coldly smiled. Pointing at Qing Anya, Yi Yutang barked, go and make me a cup of coffee. Yes. Qing Anya went to the pantry and made a cup of latte as Lu Xiaotian whispered to her, how irritating could he be? And how could he and Yi Chen be brothers? One is heaven and the other is hell. My ass. Anya, let me bring the coffee in. I am guessing he has had his eyes on you and will flirt with anyone whenever he is here to meet the president. He flirted with Mimi previously, and this time, it is with you. He is truly a rotten egg. Let me bring the coffee in. Since he wanted me to do it, I'll do it. He can't shift his anger if I do it. Besides, what can he do in broad daylight? Qing Anya pushed open the door and saw Yi Yutang sitting on the sofa as though he was royalty. Second young Master Yi, your coffee. As Anya's hand left the coffee, second young Master Yi grabbed her hand and the tray dropped onto the carpet. Before Qing Anya could react, Yi Yutang hugged her as he sneered. How dare an insignificant secretary like you stand up against me? Since you are so gutsy, I'll show you what I am made of then. Chapter 82. 3 Ways to Keep a Pervert Away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 82. 3 Ways to Keep a Pervert Away. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. As Yi Yutang said that, he yanked Qing Anya by her hair and kissed her cheek. Filled with shame and rage, Qing Anya did not expect the second master of the Yi family to be such a brute. She could not resist his strength and yelled, let go of me, you beast. Since Yi Chen has enjoyed you, now it's my turn. Yi Yutang broke into a perverted smile and pinned Anya down as he bullied her. In all honesty, Yi Yutang's status and position would allow him to get away with sullying Qing Anya. Even if that did not work out, old Master Yi would keep the issue under wraps. Such layers of assurance gave Yi Yutang the gall to act so wantonly. Qing Anya was furious and slapped Yi Yutang. Was she such a pushover? L.C. Yi Yutang, who took Anya's slap, was utterly enraged. Although Anya seemed demure, her slap was not to be underestimated. Anya shouted for Xiaotian as she jabbed Yutang in his eyes and jabbed her knee hard into his groin. Yi Yutang screamed in pain and rolled about the carpet as he clutched his manhood. 3 Tried and tested ways to deter perverts. With a loud thud, the door was kicked open. Without saying a word, Yi Chen slowly walked into the room. His deep gaze was many measures calmer than before, and he emanated an oppressive presence that inspired fear in everyone in the room. "Second brother, good to see you." Yi Chen seemingly smiled as he coldly stared at Yi Yutong, who was rolling on the floor. As Yi Chen's lips slightly curled, there was a slight mock and coldness in his smile. Qing Anya quickly got up from the sofa, her clothes unkempt. Her cheeks were red, and it screamed both shame and anger, but more anger. "Damn it, Yi Chen. She tried to seduce me and is now acting coy. Fire her." Yi Yutong said as he endured the pain and stood up. Despite the excruciating pain searing him, he could not afford to be weak in front of Yi Chen. Damn Anya. She sure need him hard. He wondered if he could still celebrate Father's Day in the future. The pain was excruciating. She seemed weak and small. He didn't expect her to have such strength. "Oh," Yi Chen dragged his reply as his gaze swept past Qing Anya. He saw her all flustered, hair unkempt, and her dark eyes gleaming with slight anger. "Boss Yi, Mr. Yi is spouting nonsense." She clearly, Lu Xiaotian wanted to defend Qing Anya, but Yi Chen motioned her to be quiet. If such things had to be explained, Yi Chen was clearly not in his element. Those who dared to bully his subordinates were asking for serious trouble. Chapter 83. Do you have an issue with those whom I pamper? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 83. Do you have an issue with those whom I pamper? Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. While Qing Anya had no intention to stand up for herself, it was unlikely for Yi Chen to ask her for her side of the story. While she had not spent a long time with him, they were able to catch on to each other very well. How he teased and made fun of Qing Anya from day to day was purely a pleasure to him. Nobody would dream of getting their hands on Anya. Yi Yutong could not read Yi Chen as he stood stoically and was cold as usual. Yutong was, however, certain that he would not make life difficult for him for the sake of an insignificant woman. Yutong knew that Yi Chen would run into issues with the old master Yi had he pulled that off. "Fire her, Yi Chen." Yi Yutong ordered as he stared angrily at Qing Anya. "Second brother, who is the boss of MBS? Is it you or me? When did you start calling the shots here?" Yi Chen coldly retorted as a shred of savageness hid in his gaze. "If you are that capable, take my position. When that happens, I won't stop you. Yi Chen, don't expect our old man to give you what you want if you do not fire her." Yi Yutong challenged Yi Chen. Yi Chen's narrowed his eyes and the entire reception became oppressively cold. "Second brother, what are you trying to say? You came to MBS to flirt with my secretary and she acted out of self-defense. You're still out to accuse people when you are clearly in the wrong." Qing Anya sneered. To be honest, she did not know that Yi Chen had a brother called Yi Yutong. She could not see them as brothers as they were so different in character. Although Yi Chen was imperfect and cold, he was decisive and wise. He was the perfect blend of incredible looks and smarts. Although Yi Yutong was decent-looking, he was petty and had neither talent nor virtue, simply mediocre. To associate Yi Yutong to Yi Chen was an utter insult to Yi Chen. "Yi Chen, you are protecting her." Yi Yutong roared and laughed acridly. "This woman who hit a young master of MBS Corporation is a nobody. Who gave her the gall to be so outrageous? And Yi Chen, she works for you." Yi Chen's gaze sank as he said in an arrogant and domineering tone, "Do you have an issue with those whom I pamper?" Yi Yutong recoiled out of shock. Qing Anya's heart leaped and her ears were warm. It was not untypical of Yi Chen to be so brazen in his speech. It was as though he lorded over everything at that moment. For whatever reason, Yi Chen's brazen and domineering comment made Anya perplexed. It seemed like both joy and sorrow, both sweetness and bitterness. The secretaries behind him murmured. The president's words from just now reflected the domineering love befitting of lovers. Chapter 84. Anya's Toughness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 84. Anya's Toughness. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. The women did not overthink, as they had worked for Yi Chen longer and knew a thing or two about the feud between the two young masters. They thought what happened was simply a part of the feud. Yi Yutong took a sigh of relief and didn't want to get into a tussle with Yi Chen. He was determined to return the shame he endured. "Grant me the money," he barked. He came simply to ask for money. As Yi Chen stared coldly, his lips broke into a smirk. Yi Yutong was asking for money. From the beginning, that was the money Yi Chen had long intended to give out, as Yi Yutong was the typical rich man's son who was able to blow away all his money, yet unable to run a business. All of the business acumen in the Yi family seemed to have aggregated in Yi Chen. This was also the reason why Old Master Yi paved the way for Yi Chen to become the president of MBS Corporation, despite his immense dislike, possibly hatred, for this very son. Second brother wants to open a jewelry chain. I have no issue with that. Dad wanted me to grant you the funds, and I am okay with that as well. It's just, Yi Chen dragged his reply. MBS will be launching Rose Tier No. 4 and collaborating with Hualan International. Funds are tight. I am sorry that I will have to delay funding for your projects, second brother. Yi Yutong was furious and pointed at Yi Chen. Did you deliberately set me up? How could the magnificent MBS International face a liquidity problem? Yi Chen is clearly lying in my face. So what if that is indeed the case? Yi Chen asked coldly. He would get much more mileage out of burning the money that was intended for Yi Yutong. Qing Anya and all the women felt the tension between the two young masters of the Yi family. One was an imposing and indomitable glacier, while the other was irritable and cocky. A Yi Yutong who wanted his way was no match for Yi Chen. They were like heaven and hell. Qing Anya implied that it would be an insult to compare Yi Yutong with Yi Chen. You actually dare to stand up against me for the sake of that wench? Wait, who you think you are? You are just a bastard child of a prostitute. What are you bragging about? MBS Corporation will eventually be mine, so don't ever think of gaining anything from it. Let's see what the old man has to say. Yi Yutong shouted. Everyone's face changed. The bastard child of a prostitute. Damn. How could Yi Yutong say something like this? A fit of raging anger burned from the bottom of Anya's heart. It was the first time she felt like this for so many years. It was as though Yi Yutong had insulted her. Yi Chen clenched his fists, his veins throbbing. Everyone could feel the anger coursing through him that he so painfully repressed. His gaze was as cold as chilling winter. Yi Chen was extremely angry. Yi Chen had stood straight despite Yi Yutong being all angry and waiting to go. He knew that Yi Chen would not dare to lay a finger on him despite his anger. Second young master Yi, please wait. Qing Anya suddenly said. She took the cup of coffee and smiled. You have not had your coffee. What is wrong with you, bitch? Before Anya could finish, her wrist went limp and the cup of coffee poured over Yi Yutong's head. The boiling coffee sent Yi Yutong screaming. Chapter 85. Let me hug you for a while. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 85. Let me hug you for a while. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. All the girls clapped and cheered. Full of rage, Yi Chen quietly simmered down and looked at Anya with a baffled gaze that implied confusion. Yi Yutong embarrassingly patted his clothes as coffee was stuck in his hair. Before he could hit Anya, he was stopped by Yi Chen. He gave Yi Chen a deadly stare as he left in utter embarrassment whilst insulting Anya. Anya, you have taught him a very good lesson. Anya, you sure are brave. Anya, you are my goddess. Even as the girls laughed, Qing Anya felt comforted. Surely, Yi Chen was psychologically damaged, but he had won their hearts. Everyone looked at Yi Chen's strange look and then quietly left the reception room. Qing Anya's face was flushed, her heart palpitating. She could not understand how she became so impulsive and could not endure what Yi Chen had endured. Why couldn't she? When she was being outraged by Yi Yutang earlier, she was not angry to the point of losing her marbles. It was when she heard him insulting Yi Chen that she was so angry that she stood up for Yi Chen. But she knew she was in trouble. That person was the second master of MBS, the most beloved of old Master Ye's sons. Yi Chen might be the president of MBS, but old Master Yi had control of the board of directors. President Yi. Qing Anya wanted to explain her impulsiveness but soon found Yi Chen's arms tightening around her as she knocked into his embrace. She was totally flushed. She froze mid-statement as she tried to ask. Don't talk. Let me hug you for a while. Yi Chen said hoarsely as he held her tightly. There was a sense of pleading in his hoarse voice. Just for a while. In spite of his many experiences since young, there was only one person who protected Yi Chen like that. It was his mother. In the Yi family, Yi Yukuan and Yi Yutang bullied him in spades. Being beaten and scolded was usual and all Yi Chen could do was to endure and not retaliate as he could not. After her mother died, Yi Chen was sent to the United States. In those few years, he did not say a word. After escaping from the mental institution, he got into an underground fight club. Those 2 years were his most humiliating, yet strongest years. Chapter 86. Do you like me? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 86. Do you like me? Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios having repeatedly lived and struggled on the edge of life and death, Yi Chen was transformed from a child to a hardened and quick-to-adapt teenager. Since then, he would repay what others had done to him tenfold. Whatever he had to endure, he would endure and take in all the pain silently. In the eyes of others, those who were as strong as Yi Chen were almost omnipotent. Who would have thought of standing up for him? Only Qing Anya. This woman who barely knew him stood up for him in such a strong and fearless way. She spoke up for him and protected him. Anya had broken the deep cold in his heart. Qing Anya was shocked. Her heart was painful as though it was in shackles. Her lips and the tip of her nose soured, and her eyes were red. Unlike before, Yi Chen seemed like a wronged person seeking comfort. However, as tough as Yi Chen was, he also had a fragile side. Her hand clenched into a fist, then loosened, and clenched, and finally released. Her emotions overcame reason. Anya hugged Yi Chen. Just this once, Qing Anya. Just this once. She followed her heart and took pity on him. Yi Chen, shocked, suddenly hugged Anya tighter. He almost wanted to hug her to death. As the sun shone through the room, there was a faint hint of sadness in the air. For a long while, Yi Chen hugged her. There was a layer of complexity in his deep gaze, and it seemed like joy yet sorrowful. Qing Anya could not understand what she saw, or rather, she did not want to pursue the question. Third young Master Ye's gaze was intriguing, as if a second glance would send her into a trance. However frightening, unclear, and vague it seemed, she did not back off, yet felt afraid. I'll make a move first. Qing Anya heard her very calm voice. There was a normalcy to it which was not tempestuous at all. Such a warm embrace from Yi Chen seemed to be an illusion stemming from Yi Chen's fatigue. As Anya turned around, she felt someone tug her arms and had to turn around. Yi Chen's lips formed a smile, and as he looked at Anya with a gaze akin to still water, he asked, "Do you like me?" With a loud thud, Qing Anya heard something in her mind rupture, and her cheeks flushed. As she felt awkward and tried to resist, Anya was tempted to hide in a hole had there been one. Did she like Yi Chen? How could it be? Had she been too late in avoiding him? Chapter 87. Anya's Courage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 87. Anya's Courage. Translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. As Anya's red lips parted slightly as she subconsciously tried to retort, Yi Chen gently placed his index finger over her lips. With a smile, he asked, "Miss Cheng, isn't it a little too late to try to explain?" Yi Chen had a very clean smile. It was devoid of the usual coldness that Yi Chen carried when he became calculative with people. Yi Chen threw Anya off. What kind of attitude was that? "Boss Yi, your narcissism has reached a new height." Cheng Anya smiled. Did she like Yi Chen? Perhaps Yi Chen was a little special for her, as Yi Chen had a face that looked like her son. Ning Ning was everything to Cheng Anya. She would not spare anyone who bullied him. Thinking of her neighbor and the people around her, Anya was reminded of Ning Ning being bullied when she saw Yi Chen being bullied. Her impulse to protect her son led her to protect Yi Chen. However, as she looked at the all-achieving Yi Chen, Anya felt a gentleness that she could not describe. Everybody has self-esteem. Anya had a line in her heart that barred anyone from passing. Yi Chen had come too close. Although his heart was so close, they were, however, worlds apart. They knew little of each other despite their proximity. As Anya wanted to step back, she felt someone catch her waist. With a smile, Yi Chen asked, thinking of escaping. With a strong pull, Yi Chen embraced Anya tightly, preventing her from escaping. Yi Chen's aura filled the small area around them, like a storm kicking up a red tide. Cheng Anya's thoughts slowed down as her heart thumped. Third young master Ye's strong-handed methods carried a charm amidst the intimacy. In irritation, Cheng Anya looked up to see third young master Yi, who seemed to be smiling. It really seemed that she had taken a liking to him. He was proud, yet ecstatic. As Anya calmed down, her sense of reason slowly returned. Tearing off her usual smile, Cheng Anya's eyebrows sank and she looked at Yi Chen with a cutting gaze. With a smile that carried more confidence than Yi Chen, she asked, "Third young master Yi, do you like me?" Yi Chen was taken aback and squinted. What kind joke was she cracking? Chapter 88. Anya vs. Yi Chen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 88. Anya vs. Yi Chen. Translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. Yi Chen had always had women who fancied him, but never had he taken a fancy to anyone, let alone after looking at the current detestable face Anya had. "I don't like you," Yi Chen firmly denied after hesitating for a second. Yi Chen admitted that Anya was an urban lady who had character, good looks, intelligence, and wisdom. She had everything that would make people swoon after her. Yi Chen, however, would not like her. Yi Chen will never like anyone. Never again. The person he liked would eventually leave him, so why bother to invest any feelings right from the beginning? He only wanted to conquer Anya. Never had any woman been able to stir up his strong desire to conquer them, and never had there been a woman who would allow him to take all that was hers. He wanted to take away her innocence. It was her innocence that reflected the darkness in him. Cheng Anya smiled. Yi Chen's answer was not unexpected. With a smile that carried a hint of provocation, she said, "Since third young master Yi does not like me, how could you be so shameless and claim that every woman who meets you cares about whether you like them?" Thoroughly aggressive. Since Yi Chen had just pushed her to the brink of awkwardness, there was no harm for her to return the favor. Cheng Anya was never a pushover to begin with. Yi Chen's countenance sank. He squinted and said, "Miss Cheng, you are very arrogant." Warning shots were fired. Cheng Anya laughed and walked up to Yi Chen as she stared into his eyes. Putting her pale hands on his heart, she said slowly yet imposingly, "Yi Chen, please do not ask me whether I like you. You will never find the answer to that question. If you want me to like you, it is simple. My heart for yours." As she said that, Cheng Anya tapped his chest and walked away gracefully as a shocked Yi Chen looked on. She showed Yi Chen what arrogance truly entailed. As the other office ladies saw Anya leave the room, they asked what had transpired in the room. After all, Qing Anya had offended Yi Yutong. Although Yi Yutong reeked of incompetence, he was the second person in line to the MBS International's presidency. Old Master Yi could pursue the case. Yi Chen was afraid he was unable to protect her. I don't know. Let nature take its course. Qing Anya smiled faintly. She never mentioned this to Yi Chen from start to end. Anya knew well she was in trouble. Yi Yutong would not call it a day. He would very likely lobby old Master Yi to pressure Yi Chen. If Yi Chen could not protect her, she would have to resign. As she waited for the outcome, which was before Yi Chen spoke, she had to do what was most important. Be a good secretary to Yi Chen. Chapter 89. The Substitute. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 89. The Substitute Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. It was time to knock off. As Qing Anya was working on a document she was about to complete, she received a call from a supermodel, Li Li, who wanted to invite Yi Chen for dinner. Li Li was the woman whom Qing Anya resented the most. She was arrogant, bad-tempered and pampered. She spoke as though she commanded people, and that left people feeling annoyed. She was especially hostile toward Yi Chen's secretaries. Every time she called, she sounded unfriendly. Qing Anya was very puzzled. Was third young Master Yi really so desperate? So desperate that he was willing to put up with someone of such temperament? As Yi Chen had no other commitments that evening and Qing Anya could not quite accurately guess how he was feeling, she transferred Li Li's call to him. As Lu Xiaotian's workday came to an end, she saw Qing Anya pout. Covering her smile, she asked, "Supermodel Li Li really hates you now. Every time you finish picking up her call, she sounds very angry. Lucky for you, you just pout." "Hey, Yi Chen's looks," Qing Anya whispered. "I cannot be sure." Lu Xiaotian held her chin and flipped open a magazine. The magazine listed several women whom Yi Chen had dated, which included his actual girlfriend, Yuan Wife. "Look at this. Do you notice anything?" Qing Anya's eyes swept over and she flipped a few pages. Yi Chen's taste for women was a little weird. The women he preferred looked demure, whether they were from well-to-do families or just girls next door. And this included Li Li. Whatever one said about her temper, she was very good-looking. She thought Yi Chen had a thing for sexy women. Hey, he sure is a person who prefers demure girls. Qing Anya thought. Look, they are very demure and have very similar eyes, Lu Xiaotian said in a gossiping tone as she teasingly nudged Anya's shoulder. We are secretly guessing that Yi Chen is looking for a much superior substitute. Qing Anya was surprised. As she turned to laugh, she said, "It must have been a coincidence, Xiaotian. Which beautiful woman has eyes that are not beautiful?" While that statement was not wrong, closer observation showed some similarities between the women's gazes. What a coincidence. It is true. We have studied it and even Li Li thinks so as well. Li Li's husband has known Yi Chen for a long time, and hearsay has it that Yi Chen used to like sexy women. He must have had someone in his heart but couldn't win that person's heart. Hence, he is looking around for a substitute, Lu Xiaotian said with a hint of mystery. Your imagination is too vivid. Chapter 90. Third young Master Yi keeps to himself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 90. Third young Master Yi keeps to himself. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Could Yi Chen fall in love with anyone? As unbelievable as it could be and how unconvinced Qing Anya was, Xiaotian might have a reason. As Anya saw these beautiful women, a strange thought flashed past her mind. What kind of woman would fall in love with cold, scheming, and distorted Yi Chen? Anya, you should believe it, Lu Xiaotian snorted as she suddenly stopped and looked at Qing Anya. Comparing Anya with Yuan Ruoshi in the magazine, Xiaotian had a strange look in her eyes. Anya, Did you realize you resemble Miss Yuan? What nonsense! How am I similar to her? Qing Anya glanced at her and muttered. Yun Ruoshi seemed a tad prettier, no. Qing Anya was still a narcissistic beauty. How agonizing. Lu Xiaotian stared at Qing Anya, and with a look of defeat, she said, "It's over. After days of studying Boss Yi and his women, we have failed to discover that one amongst us secretaries is so compatible." Lu Xiaotian, what a gossipmonger you are. Qing Anya could not stand her. Stop yapping about and suggesting that I have something going on with him. I am a poor person who does not indulge in such shameful fantasies. Yes, I know, I know. What are you afraid of? Lu Xiaotian looked at Qing Anya again before looking at Yun Ruoshi in the magazine. Xiaotian was amazed. However, it was just idle chatter that could not be spread. Such chatter had to stay as such to prevent misunderstandings and rumors. Although they had just begun to doubt Qing Anya's ability, Anya had, in the span of a week, used her extraordinary ability to convince them she was undoubtedly the top secretary. In spite of being older than Anya, they were in admiration of her. That being said, Boss Yi has been keeping to himself recently. There hasn't been any rumor this week. Lu Xiaotian was surprised and couldn't help but gossip. Shush. After Xiaotian said that, Qing Anya then realized that somebody had indeed been keeping to himself recently. Had third young Master Yi stopped chasing women? Both Xiaotian and Anya shrugged their shoulders as Qing Anya smiled. As secretaries always gossiped about their bosses, Anya recalled how she used to gossip about her boss, clothes, with her closest colleagues when she was in Britain. The nature of women. As the door to the president's office opened, Yi Chen walked out with a cold face. The two who were huddling and gossiping suddenly separated and Lu Xiaotian professionally swept the magazine under the computer desk, looking shameless and all loyal. Yi Chen stared at the two of them. He sniggered and mockingly said, "Miss Cheng, you sure have a heart. What a compliment. It is my duty to partake in Boss Ye's worries." Yi Chen's gaze swept past Anya and landed on Lu Xiaotian. "Miss Cheng and Miss Lu, please keep the volume down when gossiping." The two women were petrified. "What a pair of good ears you have, third young Master Yi, that you could hear us gossip about you.